Wait, you're a Bears fan and you're not subscribed to my channel? Before this video starts, make sure to 1. Hit the subscribe button below to catch all Bears content right here on this podcast. 2. Hit the bell notification because you, my friend, are a diehard Bears fan. And 3. Like this video and tell all the Bears fans you know about the channel. Alright, that's better. Now that you're actually subscribed to the channel, make sure to bear down and enjoy this video.
You're listening to Keek on the Mic.
Keek on the Mic.
A podcast all about the Chicago Bears. This podcast starts right now.
Keek on the Mic.
Hey, what is going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Before I get this episode started, I just want to give a huge thank you to all my subscribers. The podcast, the channel has finally hit over 500 subscribers. It's a small milestone, but I know with your guys' help, the channel will continue to grow with strong, loyal Bears fans. So I appreciate all the subscribers, and I'm super pumped about where this channel is heading. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on my Instagram page at Keek on the Mic, and make sure to share this podcast with every single Bears fan that you know. So over the last couple of days, a huge rumor has been flying around in Chicago about the Chicago Bears eyeing a huge splash in this year's draft. So I want to start off this Bears episode with this. Brad Biggs, a Chicago Bears reporter since 2001, claims that a high-level NFL source said this about the Bears situation. The player personnel director speculated the Bears could try to engineer a massive trade into the top 5 of the draft to draft a quarterback. Moving from 20 to 5 is a king's ransom. The right guy has to be there to make the move. I imagine they have to do something to get better there. Otherwise, they're basically returning the same team. After seeing this, a lot of thoughts were going into my mind. I'm like, well, the Chicago Bears need a quarterback, and if we don't get Deshaun Watson, Derek Carr, or Dak Prescott, we're going to have to make some splash somehow because the Chicago Bears are technically in win-now mode. So the question for you guys, and I guess for myself, does this make any sense for the Bears to move up into the top 5? Just like the source said, it'd be a king's ransom. Moving to 20 to 5 is going to take a whole bunch of picks and hopefully none of our players, but it will take a whole lot of picks. So it would be a huge move for the Chicago Bears to move up in this year's NFL draft. The Bears want to make a splash, but the right guy has to be there. And some of the things I'm thinking right now is if the Chicago Bears move up, who are they gonna draft? Justin Fields? Zach Wilson? Trey Lance? Those are the only guys I can think about the Bears actually trading up in this year's draft to actually draft. So let me ask you this before I move on. If the Chicago Bears trade up from 20 to 5, who do you want them to draft? Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, or Trey Lance? Let me know in the comment section down below. Personally, to me, it does make a little sense of why the Chicago Bears would actually want to trade up into the top 5. But here are some reasons why I think the Chicago Bears actually want to do it. 1, everyone knows the Bears need a QB. Of course, we want Watson, Prescott, or Carr. But they're most likely not available. After them, you have Sam Darnold, Mariota, or Winston. Those are not really names that get you super excited about next season. Angling to jump in the first round gives you the chance to draft a difference maker. Everyone knows that Trey Lance, Justin Fields, or Zach Wilson could potentially be difference makers for this team, even as rookies. So that's one reason. Number 2, Bears still feel that they have a roster that can compete for a championship, and they know that a quarterback, a good quarterback, can put this team over the top and keep them in win-now mode. And that's the most important thing for the Chicago Bears, is to win now. They feel like they still have the defense in place. They feel like the offense is getting there. But a lot of people will say that the Chicago Bears are just a quarterback away. Number 3, drafting a QB gives them control of that player for the next 4 years on a very cheap contract. So this actually makes a little bit of sense. Of course, my top option is Deshaun Watson. But everyone knows that Deshaun Watson is going to be an expensive option. If we're able to trade up into the top 5 and draft a player like Justin Fields, Trey Lance, or Zach Wilson, yes, Watson is better, I know. But getting one of those guys this year would be a pretty cheap option, and they probably would be able to compete for the starting quarterback job this year for the Bears and hopefully keep us competitive. And then the goal is to get them to a point where we can still be in competition to win now. Let me be honest with you guys, and I know a lot of people will probably agree with me with what I'm about to say. I'm at the point, if the Bears can't get Watson or Prescott, it probably will be necessary for the Chicago Bears to trade up and get one of these guys. I've been the type of person during this whole offseason process going into the draft is I think the Bears need to get more draft capital. I truly believe that. But if the Bears cannot get Deshaun Watson or Dak Prescott, I'm not settling for Sam Darnold. I'm not settling for Marcus Mariota. I'm trying to trade up into the top 5 and trying to draft either Trey Lance, Justin Fields, or Zach Wilson. You're not going to trade up and draft Mac Jones because Mac Jones would probably drop to us at 20. So if the Bears are serious, be serious about it and go draft the right guy. I understand a lot of Bears fans are going to comment on this video and say, well, Ryan Pace struggles at drafting QBs. I know, but we don't have much of a choice at this point. We have to try to trust Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy at the best of our ability and hope they get this pick right. So let me ask you this before I end this video. Do you guys think the Chicago Bears should trade up in this year's NFL draft? Let me know in the comment section down below. But before I end this video, I want to once again thank you guys so much for getting my podcast to over 500 subscribers. It's a small milestone. I can't wait to reach all those milestones with you guys and your help and your support of this podcast. So once again, thank you. Make sure you keep hitting that subscribe button and bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on this podcast. Make sure you follow me on my Instagram at KeekOnTheMic and share this podcast with all the Bears fans that you know. Other than that, I'll catch you guys for an all-new Bears video right here on Keek on the Mic. Thanks, guys.
This is a podcast all about Bears. You either cheering for this team or just pulling your hair. I like to take a minute, just sit right back and tell you how I became the #1 Bears fan. That boy is Benny Hunter. Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic. Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.